Anthropic says its most powerful AI cyber model is too dangerous to release. Anthropic teams up with its rivals to keep AI from hacking everything. Cybersecurity stocks climb amid Anthropic's Project Glasswing launch. These are just some of the headlines that I'm reading from the news this week in cybersecurity land. Obviously, we saw Anthropic releasing Project Glasswing, and it's been a big deal. Everyone's talking about it. Just for background here, real quick, Anthropic says that it's basically designed to protect critical global software using this new AI model, Claude Mythos Preview. And Anthropic says Claude Mythos Preview can analyze complex code bases, detect 0 days, suggest or implement fixes. So it's already supposedly found thousands of serious bugs in many operating systems and browsers. For me specifically, kind of the big takeaway from this news is that Anthropic is not releasing the model publicly due to safety concerns. Instead, it is giving controlled access to this coalition of major orgs. So I saw Google, Apple, Microsoft, kind of the big ones you would expect. And these partners are going to use the model to find and fix flaws before attackers can exploit them. So there's been a lot of discussion, even leading up to this news, about the impact of AI on vulnerability management. And, it's interesting because we've seen a lot of the top people in our industry talk about how AI is going to change the game here. We had Nicholas Carlini talk at Unprompted a couple of weeks ago about how we need to step up and we need to really look at these systems and what it means for vulnerabilities. Because, as we know, the more vulnerabilities that AI models find in the software and operating system and browsers put out by vendors, that means that places a lot of burden on the vendors to then go patch them. So I think it's going to have a big impact there. But what does this really mean for vulnerability discovery and also mitigation? And then also, what does it mean overall looking forward for cybersecurity in general as a whole? I see a lot of hot takes online that say cybersecurity is dead or like things like that. So, instead of just kicking it around amongst ourselves, Dennis and I went and tracked down the smartest people in our industry that we knew. And we asked them kind of what they thought about this news from this week, and also what they think about AI's impact on cybersecurity as a whole, because that's a question that just keeps bubbling up every few weeks. What I did first of all was I chatted with Katie Moussouris, who is a absolute legend in the security space. She's a pioneer in vulnerability disclosure, and as most of you probably already know, she's best known for her ongoing work advocating for responsible security research. So here is what Katie had to say about Project Glasswing specifically.
When I first saw the announcement for Project Glasswing, I was very excited. This represents an absolutely pivotal moment, I think, in vulnerability research and disclosure. This, as far as I know, is the first time any company has ever attempted multi-party vulnerability research at this scale, a multi-party vulnerability disclosure at this scale. We've had, I started Microsoft vulnerability research way back in 2000, I think it was 2008. And that was a precursor to Google Project Zero. And we were certainly doing human-powered vulnerability research on third parties and coordinating those disclosures. But this is really the first time that thousands of vulnerabilities are being discovered and disclosed all at once to a number of different companies. And I think it's very ambitious, and I think they're doing the absolute hardest thing they could possibly do. And I think that it's an indicator of what's to come.
So Katie has a ton of experience in vulnerability management, vulnerability reporting, and she was actually the creator of the bug bounty program at Microsoft, and also involved in creating the US DoD's first bug bounty program for hackers. So she has a ton of experience understanding the workflows that go into this and the processes. And so I wanted to get her take on what the impact of AI on vulnerabilities would mean for the cybersecurity space, means for vendors who need to then kind of meet these automated processes that are happening now at scale. And then also kind of for the downstream customers who are going to be using the tools and the software and the browsers that we're going to be finding vulnerabilities with AI in. And I wanted to get her take on that. So here's what she had to say.
Well, I think organizations that make software are going to be doing a lot of really heavy pay down of their built up technical debt. So any bugs that they, already knew about that they need to fix that maybe nobody has reported to them yet, they need to get on top of dealing with those. And then certainly all the new bugs that are coming in. So it's going to be a big, basically the repo man for technical debt is coming, when it comes to all these new AI generated vuln reports. And then the other thing they're going to have to do is increase their investments in building more secure software and using AI to prevent vulnerabilities in the first place, write better code, help them write better code, and then also to catch those bugs before the software goes out the door. So that's for software vendors. And then I think for everybody else who uses software, again, it's going to be a technical debt problem, right? Where you are going to have to find and fix and mitigate issues in your own networks, and try to configure things with all those principles of least privilege and zero trust and all of that stuff that we've been preaching for a long time, but really segment very important things away from internet exposed systems, and then having very strong capabilities for knowing when you are compromised. Because I think the philosophy of assume breach and deal with the recovery aspect of it, people are going to have to get really good at that, of detecting breaches, containing them, and recovering from them.
So someone else we really wanted to talk to was Gary McGraw, who is an absolute expert in all things AI. He's the co-founder of the Berryville Institute of Machine Learning, where he's focused on machine learning security. He also was talking about and researching and understanding AI longer than probably 99.9% of people in the cybersecurity industry. So we wanted to sit down and really get his take on what this news means for the cybersecurity world and just for the vulnerability management space in general.
I have 4 thoughts about the Mythos Glasswing thing. Number 1, anything that helps fix software is good. Bottom line, we got to fix the software. 2, LLMs still require experts to be experts. Of course, anybody can use an LLM, but what they will find will not be expert level stuff unless maybe they're an expert. Number 3, vulnerabilities are not exploits, and they are also not patches. So, if we make patches, that's great. If we make exploits, not so great. But vulnerability discovery alone is not where it's at. Number 4, all AI tools are useful. Use them. So, is releasing tools too dangerous? No, releasing tools is really useful. Release the dang things. Fix the dang software. Over and out.
So there you have it. These are 3 people who have been in the industry for decades. They understand how things work. They've seen how things have changed and evolved over time. And I think that they have a very solid viewpoint on what this development means for cybersecurity, for vulnerability management. And it's really important to talk to people and get their insight, even outside of the Twitterverse sometimes, especially for big things like this. So Anthropic will continue to, I believe Anthropic said within 90 days it would release some of its findings and some further disclosures about the vulnerabilities that it had found. And so we'll be keeping an eye out for that. And in the meantime, give Decipher a like, follow, subscribe on all the things on YouTube, Twitter. We're at DecipherSec on YouTube. So feel free to give us a shout out if you liked what you saw today. And I'll leave you with these parting words. The wise words of Gary McGraw: fix the dang software.